talking about Hawaii and the police out in Hawaii. How do we say this politically correct? The police aren't exactly your, there you go. So last time we went that way. Your most outstanding citizens on the island. And the crime is pretty bad, especially automotive crime. And when I was out there, the police had such a tendency to actually not follow any of the laws that they were enforcing that it became quite a, almost a revolt. So, all the local radio stations got together and said, look, if the mayor's not going to put this police department in check, the people are going to have to do it. So all the radio stations put out their number and says, anyone who sees a cop doing anything illegal, call this number and we'll put it on the air immediately. We'll even break into newscasts for it. And people started calling in and says, yeah, I just had a cop go shooting past me doing 85 and he didn't have his lights on. They were really big into speeding. Okay, there you go, we're back in normal spot. And it got pretty bad. It's like so bad that you couldn't turn on the radio without a constant stream of what the cops are doing wrong and where they're at. And it was car numbers were being reported. Finally, I guess the mayor had had enough. And he must have done something about it, because all of a sudden the radio stations stopped reporting on this stuff. Whether or not they got down and they brass knuckled the radio stations to tell them to stop, or he fixed his police department, I don't know. But I can tell you my experience with the police department afterwards. We were, my bride and I were at the beach, and we come back up after a day of fun in the sun, and we see a car on the side of the road, and the windows are all broken out, and there's some really distraught looking people there. We say, hey, can we help you guys? Whoa, 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 whoa. Turns out, it was some newlyweds on their honeymoon, and it was a rental car. And their honeymoon was going to Oahu. It's like, oh man, how much does that suck? We said, well, tell you what, we're headed into town. We will find a cop, and we will send him back here for you. They said, thank you very much. We're going to stay with the car and make sure nothing else gets stolen. Because they lost everything. They lost their cameras and their wallets. So we get into town, and we see a cop sitting on the side of the road with a radar gun. We pull over, we go walking up to him. He says, hey, a mile and a half up the road on the left-hand side, there's some tourists that are in distress. Their car got broke into, and they need help. Okay, let's go. The cop looked at me and says, I'm on traffic patrol. When I'm on traffic patrol, I do nothing other than traffic patrol. So this cop says, I'm on traffic patrol. I don't do anything other than traffic. Like, wait a minute. You'd rather sit here and give people tickets than help someone who's in distress? Isn't that your job, to help people in distress? He goes, no, my job is to give people that are going too fast tickets. No, get out of here or I'll bust you for interfering with police. It's like, wow. Okay. So we head on into town to look for another. What was that? Anyway, to look for another police officer. And lo and behold, we drive past the police station. Say, oh, I bet we find a cop in there. We stop, we go into the police station. And there's a cop in there, and he's got his feet up on the desk, and he's reading the newspaper. And when we walk in, he knows we're there, with the doorbell dings and all that crap. And he doesn't even drop the newspaper. He doesn't even acknowledge we're there. Ooh, Bill almost went for a dive. I hit that rock, almost went into the stump. I said, excuse me. And through the newspaper, he says, what do you want? Well, we're here to report that some people need some help. He goes, what do you want me to do about it? He goes, aren't you the police? Yeah, but I'm stationed at the desk. I only do desk duty when I'm at the desk. I go, okay, I understand. Can you at least call somebody who's willing to help these people? He finally puts the paper down and says, if it'll make you go away, I will. It's like, really? This is Hawaii Police that we're talking about. And I said, yeah, that'll make us very happy. He goes, okay. And he picks up his radio and he makes a call and tells somebody to go look for these people. And we're like, that was ridiculous. Now I'm really kind of pissed. It's like, why are we paying these people? Anyway, moving on. So I get home, and this is back when we were young. I was probably in my 20s? Let's see. Yeah, I was in my early 20s. And that's actually back when and at that age, you think you can actually make a difference in the world. You haven't learned better like I have now. So I said, I'm going to fix this. These cops don't want to do their job. Let's get some people in there that will. So I sat down and I wrote a really nice letter. And I explained the whole situation to the mayor. Honolulu mayor. I think it was. Anyway, either there or the governor. One of the two. Probably the governor, because this didn't happen in Honolulu. I mentioned it's 20 years ago, which is 40 years ago. Or I was 20, which is 40 years ago. Anyway. Ooh. There's still water on this trail. That's good. And I explained it to him. I says, look, if you're not going to have police officers willing to do their job, and we're all familiar with what the radio has been putting out about how the police officers are actually some of the worst crooks on the island, what exactly are you doing in your job? Isn't it your job to keep these people in check? And I sent it off. And I didn't think anything about it. About a week later, I get a doorbell. So ding, ding. Whoa! I go to the door and I open it. And there stands some guy in a suit. I've never seen him before. And some kind of cop. Pretty high up. He's got all this brass and braid and stuff on, some sort of dress uniform. At my door. I go, uh-oh, this doesn't look good. And they all stop and they look at me and say, are you Mr. Blah? I go, yes, I am. He said, well, I'm so-and-so and I represent, we'll just say it was the governor's office. And this is so-and-so. He's in charge of the police department. The gov has asked us to swing by and discuss a letter that you wrote to him. We would like a little more detail. And the entire time, this cop, he's sitting there, he looks pissed. He's so angry. The entire time he was standing there, he stood there with his hand on the gun. Okay. So, it was very clear to me that this cop was there to simply intimidate me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so now I know what they did about the radio stations. But, being 20 years old and, I didn't intimidate real well. And I asked the mayor guy, I says, hey, the representative, I says, would you mind if you and I continue this conversation? Whoa! Without Mr. Hand on Gun here, because I really don't feel comfortable with him having a gun and me not having a gun. he turned and looked over at the guy, and then looked down and saw his hand on his gun. The guy, he got real pissed. He turned around and walked away. And I finished my conversation. And the representative says, yeah, I will definitely look into this and we'll see if we can't get this problem resolved. I go, can you at least tell me if those people ever got help? He goes, no, I don't know anything about that. We'll get back to you on that. Of course they didn't. So that tells you something about the cops in Hawaii. Whoa.